friend. Welcome to the podcast. I am Melissa Matheson, and can you believe we are already finished with our first month of the new year? It feels like January flew by, and one of the reasons probably had something to do with all the great people that joined us on the podcast for our Celebrating Singles series we did to launch our new year. If you haven't met my January friends, schedule yourself an extra long road trip or go spend a whole day at your local coffee shop and get caught up on the podcast. Every conversation was so good. Well, February is here, and have no fear. It's going to be another great month on the podcast. How do I know? My friend Kalyn is here to get us started. Kalyn and I have been friends almost 10 years. I met her as a young girl straight out of high school, and I've watched her grow in her gifts as a creative, an entrepreneur, a wife, a mother, and now as an official in our local government. When I first had the idea to start a podcast in August of 2019, I knew I wanted Kalyn to be one of the first friends you meet. Kalyn is a champion of people. She has a way of encouraging people and cheering for them in ways that make you think anything is possible. I knew I would need her in my corner. We finally were able to coordinate our schedules to meet for coffee, and you'll understand why that was a challenge when you hear what she's got going on in her life. So grab your coffee and join us at the table. We're talking about Chip and Joanna, the year 2030, and maybe we talk about baby names. Today on What's Next, God? Well, we always have to talk about coffee.
Yes.
To get started. Because you're a coffee drinker.
Oh, yeah, big coffee drinker.
Tell me, educate me on coffee. What do I need to know about coffee? Because you are a coffee connoisseur.
I don't know anything about coffee that you don't know. And we pretty much have the same taste in coffee because we both love Colombian Peaks. And we both love the burnt sugar latte I learned on one of your episodes.
Yes. Ooh, at Milk and Honey in Chattanooga.
And so I take my coffee with cream and sugar because I love myself. So... But honestly, I have slipped in the motherhood phase of my life, and now I'm drinking Keurig cups almost every day.
Are you really?
Yes, because it takes 30 seconds.
Because it's quick and easy.
And John doesn't drink hot coffee, so it's just me drinking hot coffee in the morning, so it's not worth doing a whole French press because I have to get out the door in the morning. So
before babies, you were doing French press?
Usually French press. Sometimes pour over, but I don't like it as well.
Really?
Yeah. But that's why I say I'm not really a coffee snob, because I think people who weigh their grams of coffee do the pour over thing.
We don't do that.
That's more serious than me.
That is serious. We're not there yet.
The love is not more serious because I love it, but I don't want to weigh the grams.
You don't love it that much.
No, I don't have time to do that.
Yeah, I don't. And because it's not hashtag I'm a mom.
Yeah, I literally walk in, press the strong button and start it and drink 8 ounces. And I'm pregnant, so I can only have 1 cup. Well, I guess I could have, this is my 2nd cup today.
But you didn't fill your cup all the way.
Yeah, and it's hours later after my first caffeine of the day. So because I can't have a ton, I just savor my 1 cup, and that's where it's at right now.
Okay. I have a confession about Keurig. I have not had a cup of Keurig coffee that I've liked yet.
Yeah, there's 1 K-Cup that is sold at our local Walmart where we get to shop that I like.
Okay.
It's the Green Mountain.
Yes.
Dark Magic. That's the only one that I care for.
Their green tea also. Mm-hmm. But I have not. I just have to try it, I guess.
Dark Magic. And you have to do a smaller ounce water. So I do 8 ounces with the K-Cup.
To make
Dark
it strong.
Magic. It's pretty strong.
Yeah.
And there's even a strong button on my Keurig. So I hit that and it just brews it a little bit slower. So it comes through a little darker.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I know that is not coffee snob level coffee drinking, but that's where I'm at. I drink that K-Cup every day, sometimes twice if things are crazy.
I understand. I understand. You just do what you gotta do.
Also, I have to apologize that I'm probably going to be breathing so heavy because I don't know why. It's something about pregnancy and shortness of breath. I'm like,
okay, so
I need to take it slow and not talk fast.
You're okay. You're okay. And okay, so
I don't want to be panting into
like she's not having contractions. She's not in labor.
Just out of breath all the time.
Are you nervous at all?
No, John says I just get excited and I start going fast and then I'm like,
because you're pregnant.
Like I'm running. in my mind.
Well, because your mind is probably going 100 miles an hour and your body and everything else is trying to keep up with where your mind is going. So
this actually does happen to me all the time, but I'm usually not mic'd. So I'm nervous about sounding really breathy.
No, trust
so
me.
just forgive the breathiness, everyone.
So you are pregnant.
Yeah, 9 months pregnant.
Yeah. Like could have a baby any day.
Almost in the any day range.
Yeah, kind of in the any day.
We're close.
Yeah. So, well, when people listen to this, you'll be
probably having a baby.
Probably having a baby.
Probably at the very moment.
Or close to having one.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So, well, we'll talk about babies in a minute. We have just finished up January's Celebrating Singles series on the podcast.
I enjoyed it so much.
That's what I was wanting to ask. I want to take just a minute and you tell me your thoughts on what you've been hearing.
I enjoyed it so much. And because of the busyness of life, I have really just tuned into a lot more episodes in January of your podcast. And so I was able to enjoy Laura and Carly and Jen and Emily and Blake and Sean. I think that's everybody.
Yeah, Kaylee.
Kaylee, yes. So I really enjoyed it. So those are some of my favorite people, Laura and Jen and Emily and Carly. Because
these are our people, and we're doing life with them. And so when we can hear them being celebrated for what they're doing and who they are, it just does my heart. I just get this like love burst for my friends.
Yes,
you know,
I enjoyed it so much.
Celebrate them. So because you're kind of newly married. So if I had done this a couple of years ago, you would have been one of the people.
Been one of the singles.
Yeah, you
would have said, you and your friend, you guys need to chill out. That's what I would have said
that
to
was my
all
next
the single people.
That was my next question is, what would you say?
Today, I actually had the thought, like, I hope she asked me something I would say to singles, because I would say, don't make this mistake that I made for 4 years. That is that I held out for a long time for someone who just wanted to be my friend.
Yes.
And there's way more to the story than that, but that's the gist.
There we go.
And I see people doing it all the time, and I want to be like, please stop doing that to yourself and to that person and to everyone around you.
Yes. So what do they need to do instead? Like, how do they need to know that they're doing that?
I think that something that would have helped me is to hear someone say, it's not valiant or gallant. Is it gallant? Is that the word I'm looking for? It's not gallant of you to love someone who is not giving you that love in return. Because I felt like, wow, I am so good.
Unconditionally loving.
Oh my gosh, I love this person unconditionally, even though they are not loving me back the way I deserve. And I was like proud of that in a weird way. It's like the pain of that was like doing something for me, which is, I don't know how to describe it other than that. It was like, the pain of wanting this person to love me back was making me feel like I was in a relationship with them.
Yeah.
And I was not in a relationship. I mean, I was
You were.
I was in a way too close friendship with them, but it was never going to be what I wanted. And thank God.
Thank you, God.
Thank you, God. Because if I had everything I wanted, if my life looked right now the way that I was dreaming it would look in that moment, I would be probably...
We just can't even think about it.
It's not a good idea. So God knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
And it all worked out for my benefit because he works everything together. And I thought, this can never be worked together for my benefit because now I've wasted all these years and all this time, and God really did redeem it all.
Yeah, he did.
So
he has a way of doing that.
I'll tell that story more fully later whenever John can come on the podcast.
Yes. So, because, all right, so we talk about if you are at all a podcast listener with us, we have mentioned Kalyn's name multiple times and John's name. So I actually, on Carly's conversation where we talked about you two, I made a comment about signing a petition to get you guys to come on and tell your story about how you met, dated, and married.
John will do it. He just, once he gets, I don't know how much he'll talk, but he'll come.
Yeah, he'll come. But after that, I had people messaging me I'll sign the petition.
That's amazing.
So
yeah, he'll do it. And he has a really interesting perspective because he was single for way longer than
Yes.
Actually, any of the people you had on your single
Well, I think that,
podcast,
yes.
except for maybe as long as Laura, for sure.
I think the biggest thing for John is going to be finding time that he's not busy doing something because he has a very full schedule.
Yes.
So we're going to make that happen. Of course, now you have a new baby. So you've been married how many years?
This May will be 3 years.
3 years.
2 and some change.
Baby number 2 on the way.
Yes.
We have a girl.
Yes, we have a girl coming.
And we already have a boy. How old is Levi?
Levi is 18 months, almost 19 months. So the difference between them will be about 20 months.
Okay.
If she tarries. At least 19 months, maybe 20.
Maybe 20. Your life has had quite a bit of transition then lately, hasn't it?
Yes. Everything that could change for a person has changed for me, except for my geographical location in Hamilton.
Yeah, so you've been in Hamilton. I've known you 10 years.
Almost 10. This summer will be 10 years.
This summer will be 10 years. And you moved here a kid straight out of school because you're young. How old are you?
I'm 27. I was 17 when I moved here.
17 when you moved here to go to ministry school.
Yes. And ministry school started on my 18th birthday.
I remember.
And I've known you and had a relationship with you the entire time I've been here.
Yeah, we have been friends the whole time.
Yeah.
In some way.
Yeah.
Have been a part of each other. So you've actually watched my children.
Yeah, which is like
grow up.
The other day when you told me Max was 17, I was like, what?
Actually, he turns 18 next month.
I can't. Yeah. It does not seem possible.
He's graduating high school and he's going to college in the fall.
It doesn't seem possible.
Yeah. Maya Cole's driving. Yeah.
Whoa.
Molly getting married.
Yeah, that one. I don't know what's more shocking, that or the fact that Max is now the age that I was when I met your family.
Yes.
That just feels crazy and surreal.
Yes, I didn't even think about that. He is. He's the same age that you were.
Yes.
When I met you.
And he was a baby child then.
He was a little man child.
He was 7.
Yes.
And cute. He is still really cute and funny.
He's a mess. So, so you have pretty much grown up here. And I think if anybody can talk about transition,
I've seen a lot since I've come here.
Gone through a lot. And I've watched you go through a lot.
Yes.
And you are from Georgia, though.
Yes, I grew up in Georgia and moved here in 2010, like you said, to do ministry school. And so I did that for 2 years. And when I finished, I really knew as soon as I came to Hamilton, like that this was not just a 9-month program for me or not just a 2-year program, but that this was like going to be a more permanent home. See, breathy. So I knew as soon as I came that I would probably be here longer than those 2 years. And obviously that's turned out to be the case. So after that, I started working and I just had so many friends and I felt very settled here. And so I just kind of kept putting my roots down and kept putting them down and kept putting them down. And they just kept growing and growing.
Did your mom and dad ever think you were going to come back to Georgia?
I think when I first left home, they did think that I was going to come back. Like maybe that I would do a year and come back, maybe 2 years. They didn't know that I was going to be gone when I left at 17. I think that was a really hard thing for all of us to swallow because I'm the oldest in my family too, so I was the first to fly the coop. And
at 17.
At 17. I don't think even though they knew that I wanted to do ministry school, I don't think they expected me to be gone from home from that point forward.
Because you have a really great family.
Yes.
A lot of brothers and sisters.
Yes.
Little ones still.
Yes. So I'm the oldest of 9 children.
Yes.
I'm 27 and my youngest sister is 4. She turns 5 this year.
Yeah. So. And praise God they get to live here in Hamilton now.
And that's the beautiful part of the story is that several years back, my brother Josiah wanted to come to RSM, and so my whole family relocated here, and he was able to go to school and live at home, and now we're all able to be together.
Yeah.
And my mom is able to watch my little boy, which she's doing right now this very moment.
You have an amazing family.
Yes, I'm so thankful that they're here.
Family.
It would be so much harder to be here if they were not here. Even just the weight of feeling like I'm missing out on my little siblings' lives and everything, I don't feel that weight because I get to be around them more.
Yeah, and plus your kids get to be around.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Your family.
Levi thinks he belongs at grandmama's house. Like this morning when I carried him in, there was no one. We were walking through the house and the house was still asleep, and he was saying, "Hey, hey, hey!" Like, I'm here. Where is everybody? Yeah. He just loves it.
Yeah,
he's the star of the show in his mind.
Of course he is. I wonder what he's going to do with a new little sister.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It might not go well, but we'll get through it.
I don't think he has a choice.
He has been the center of the universe at our house and at grandparents' house and everywhere.
Oh, and everywhere. And in the friend group.
He can't
everything.
Help it. It's not his fault.
No.
He didn't ask for this. He just was born into a world where he was like the baby for everybody. Yeah. So.
Well, and I love that. That's my kids. I mean, we grew up, when they were born, I had restaurants. And so they just grew up, center of attention because they were at work with me and just, they had all these people petting them and feeding them. And they just did not lack for attention.
All I know is Carly better not like that new baby at all or Levi is going to have a problem.
Because Levi's in love with Carly.
In love. Yes.
Hey, and I'm going to say this. This is all I'm going to say about our singleness thing for the last time. Carly Gerdeau comes and does a podcast.
And then gets engaged like the next day.
Then gets engaged. So that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, it worked.
Yeah.
If that was the goal.
I don't know.
What's funny is I was texting you the information about her engagement celebration the very day that she was here at your house. And I didn't realize. I totally would have waited a little while to not make it hard on you.
It was perfect.
I was thinking she's probably bursting inside.
Yeah, it let me kind of lead some of the conversation, or a little bit. So tell me about the last 10 years of your life. So we are in 2020, which is just very significant. Not only we're starting a new year, a new decade. And so I've known you 10 years. It just feels like a whole decade. And I'm seeing so many people are making a shift, kind of interest, no matter what age they are, are making these huge shifts and transitions in their life that feel sudden, but they're not.
Right. Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes, it's like the whole 10 years has been leading up to these transitions, and we didn't know exactly what they were going to look like, but we've been feeling the rumblings for a long time. Yeah,
and we're just seeing these little shifts and transition for people. So many people, even that we've been talking to here on the podcast, that have had like moves, like moving and changing and changing jobs and all of this stuff that you think you're going to be one place forever or do one thing forever, and suddenly just all these new things. Yes. And it's kind of exciting.
It is exciting. So my last 10 years, we started in 2010, I graduated high school, moved to Hamilton. By 2012, I finished that, started working 2013. I got hired to work for the Ramp in 2013. I have to think about this, make sure that sounds right.
Yeah, that does sound right, because you had an office next to me.
Yes, we were neighbors. So I started working for the Ramp in 2013, which was my dream job.
It's everybody's dream job. This is it.
God placed me here. Yes. I'm doing this forever. It's amazing.
Yes.
So I started doing some social media and marketing and writing, staff writing. I was a staff writer, was my job title. And so I loved that, and I was able to start doing that at a time where I felt like social media was changing so rapidly, and even more rapidly than I could keep up with as a 20-year-old millennial. I was so young, and I was doing, anyways, I was learning a lot on the job. So that was a really fun season, and I really thought I could have seen myself doing that forever. So then fast forward a few years down the road, and sometime in 2015, I started to really develop a heart for the UK, and I actually made plans to go spend time in Scotland with Joe and Stacey Reeser while they were in Scotland.
I remember that.
Yes, and so I was planning on doing that until this big transition happened there with them, and they realized this was not going to go the way they had planned, and so I had to change my plans. So anyways, that left me in this weird, interesting that it was exactly in the middle of the decade. I was in this weird interim, okay, I have done all of these things with the Ramp, and then I thought that I was about to shift gears and do something different, and now I've still shifted gears, but I don't know what I am going to do.
Yeah.
And so being in that place caused me to, really like dig and decide, what do I have in my hand? What can I do to make some money? What can I do entrepreneurially? Because I live in a tiny town and there's not a ton of opportunity. And I lived with Carly at the time. She was starting her business that same year. And so she and I were just like in this zone of the world is our oyster. We can do anything. And so I started doing a small business doing art for people and doing calligraphy, primarily hand lettering. So I was doing some hand lettering workshops and classes, and then doing a lot of custom work for people for weddings and
Where did that idea
invitations.
come from?
I had just loved doing it for a long time as a hobby for a while. And actually, you gave me the opportunity to paint journals and put them in the Ramp bookstore. And so that was a part of initiating that I always loved art. I always did art even before I was in high school even. I loved art, did art. And then I just developed a love for hand lettering and calligraphy maybe the 2 years leading up to that time in 2015.
Did you just watch videos? How did you learn to do it?
Yeah, I had actually Delana Wood taught me a few techniques and I just ran with it. So she showed me a couple things and I was like, I can do this. And so I just started practicing. And from watching Molly, who's incredible at it now, that it's just like the more you do it, the more naturally it comes and the better it starts to look.
Yeah.
Because it was not looking good at first. When I look back, I'm like, ooh, she let me sell that. Ooh, somebody paid money for it.
They did, and they loved it.
They loved it, but the standard was lower. This was before Hobby Lobby had the level of things it has now.
This was way before Hobby Lobby.
So, not before Hobby Lobby existed, of course.
No, before they started taking all of our ideas.
Exactly. And
putting them in their stores.
And then making billions of dollars off of them.
Yeah. Thanks, Hobby Lobby.
Yeah. So anyway, I started doing this business and Carly was doing her business and we were going to craft shows and just having fun doing that. And we actually we called it being fun employed. We were unemployed, but we were having a lot of fun doing it.
That is so great.
And
I so feel that deep down on the inside.
Fun employed. She's still fun employed, but I am just regular old employed now. But honestly, no regrets because fun employment has its downsides too.
Yes.
So anyways, she and I just did all kinds of crazy things for money that y'all mentioned on her podcast. Like we were making and selling lattes and donuts and latte grams, like sending messages to people with lattes and like just whatever we could think of.
I love it because it was all so fun and so creative. And you're just using the same customer base, just giving them a new service.
Exactly. And so anyways, during this time, like I said, we felt like the world is our oyster. I could do anything. So so now at this point in my life, I feel very entrepreneurially geared. And I'm having lots of business ideas and I'm like, well, maybe this is what I'm supposed to do, So then I could kind of see how the years of social media and marketing and writing, the creativity of those things, and then plus the artistic side of things, the entrepreneurial side of things, I could see how it was all marrying together and working, and people were interested and wanting to see what I was doing and wanting to come to these workshops, and it was working.
Yeah.
And so I thought maybe I could do this forever. So like in this decade, I had one path with just social media and writing where I thought I could do this. And then I have another path with entrepreneurship and I thought I could definitely do this, which that's like just kind of a part of who I am regardless.
Yeah.
Like it's like once you get bitten by that entrepreneurial bug, you just can't stop having business ideas. And if you're not
doing it for yourself, you're going to give people the ideas and help people with their ideas.
Like Carly said, we kept trying to get someone to make candles. I gave this idea to some really smart people who were like, hey, give me a business idea. And I'm like, I got you. This will work. And no one took us up on it. So we just had to do it ourselves.
So now y'all got a side hustle making candles for fun.
Now I pour candles at night. But anyway, so, at this point in my decade, 2016 is when I let go of my relational hang-ups that we were talking about at the beginning of this podcast.
So, which you cannot deny the timing.
No, it was perfect timing.
Of how all of that happened once you were able to let go of some things that were holding you
connected.
back.
absolutely connected. So it was like the very end of 2015. 2015 was a very hard year for me emotionally because of the whole Scotland thing. And so I was very disappointed.
Brokenhearted.
Yeah, I was very disappointed. Scotland's not working out. Now I'm not this social media guru for the ramp like I used to be. And I found a lot of identity in that. So it's like, that's not happening anymore. Scotland didn't work out. Now I'm just like in this really weird funk. And the whole relational thing was like not working.
Yeah.
And I'm like getting older at this point. So I'm like, I've got to, there's got to be some kind of change, but I don't know how to make change happen. So like at the very end of 2015, I'm like, I am leaving this bad relational habit in 2015. Like I made that decision.
Okay.
And so in 2016, I started to have some serious eye-opening revelations about love in general, not even concerning the person that I ended up marrying. But in 2016, I'll tell that story more on our sequel.
Yes, when John and you were both here. I want to hear about it.
So I'll kind of skim over the details of that for now. But in 2016 was the year where we dated and got engaged. And then in 2017, we got married. So in 2016... when we started dating, got engaged, I was still doing my art stuff. And it was toward the end of 2016 where we're engaged now, we're planning a wedding. Now I need money. Not like gotta get by money, but like I need like life money, like I'm gonna be somebody's wife money. So I decide to apply for a job at our local newspaper. Mm-hmm. So I get a job at the Journal-Record. Marion County's news source since 1970 something. I can't remember the year.
Which the editor of the newspaper
is my friend Scott.
It's Scott, and he and Madison were here. They were one of our very first episodes on the podcast. He had just gotten that promotion.
Yes,
as the editor of the newspaper.
Scott is awesome at the newspaper, and I helped him get that job. But anyway, so
you're welcome, Scott.
At the end of 2016, I get a job at the newspaper. Actually, they just celebrated 40 years, so it had to be 1979. That's what I'm thinking.
Okay.
So anyways, but it was a good fit because it's regular money. I needed regular money. And I had a lot of good writing experience. And so I was able to kind of plug right in and go. So I got a job at the newspaper at the end of 2016, and it worked out because I had this writing experience from past work experience. So I was able to just plug right in and do well there. And what that job really did for me was connect me to people in this community in a way that I had not been connected to. And when I say this community, I mean Hamilton, Marion County at large. So this area in Alabama where we live.
Which is huge because that's like not even an area I'm tapped into. And I've lived here over 11 years, but because of the nature of my job,
it's hard to unless you
and I was
work
traveling,
with the public.
Exactly. Traveling and go to the office and I'm home and just not, even though I love our town, I'm not really tapped into the details and the people.
I wasn't either.
In any way. And so when I hear people talk about that and how they have their finger on the pulse of the community, I'm like, I'm not there yet, but I want to be.
Yes. So that job really helped me connect.
Do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And my husband works at a local pharmacy here. And so he is very connected to the community. He knows everybody. And even before he worked at the pharmacy, he worked with the public at restaurants. He worked with the public in multiple ways. And so he has always been connected. I think that's a gift of his, really, is like a community person. He is just so easily ingrained into the community of a place. And even when we go and visit his hometown in Illinois, people there know him, they recognize him. He knows all these business leaders and they love him. And I'm like, you're the same person everywhere. Like everyone knows you here and they know you in Alabama. But anyways, so that was the first time at that point, I'd been living in Hamilton 6 years, and that was the first time I started to really connect with the community. And by that, I mean, I'm going to city council meetings, I'm going to county commission meetings, I'm going to school board meetings. And so now all of these elected officials are meeting me, and I mean, local people.
Sure.
Not nothing crazy, but
in our town of Hamilton with 6,000 people.
Exactly. But it was still a really great way to start meeting those people. And so while I'm working there, I get this job offer from the county administrator who works for the Marion County Commission. And she wanted me to come and join her staff and do accounts payable. So I'm like, I don't know, like I'm not an accountant type person. And that's what that job is. It's like taking in invoices, entering them into a system, writing checks, paying bills, doing clerical type work, accounting type work, office job, which my journal record job was an office job, but it was a very creative office job because I'm writing.
You're writing, right.
Writing, taking photos.
Not doing administrative stuff.
Exactly. I was interviewing people. I was going out to events, stuff like that. So when
this was in 2017?
In 2017, she first approached me.
Okay.
And so this was actually, when she first approached me, it was only like 5 months after I'd started working at the Journal Record. But I met her because I had started covering the county commission meetings for work.
Gotcha.
And so anyways, at that time, the editor of the newspaper was having a knee replacement surgery. So I said, no, my boss is out for 6 weeks. I can't leave him hanging, because I would have had to work a 2-week notice and then leave to come work for her. And I was like, I feel uncomfortable with this. He's not like with it because he's on pain medicine and he is counting on me, and I just can't do that.
Yeah.
So I tell her no at that time, which I think ultimately probably just made her want me even more, because she was like, yes, loyalty. So I told her no, and then she hires someone else, and about 9 months later, it's not working out with the person that she hired. So she approaches me again, and she's like, please put in an application. I want you to come work here. It's really good benefits. Have you looked at our benefits? You know, she's like trying to talk me into it. So I'm like, okay. So I apply because the hours are really good. The benefits are good. The holidays are good. So I'm like, you know, this is not the kind of work I envisioned myself doing, but money speaks. So
basically you were doing it because you just needed a job and the money and the benefits, but this wasn't what you were thinking you were going to do for the rest of your life.
Not at all. So in the job,
so what do you feel like you were passionate, what were you feel like you were born to do
at that time? Like in general, what do I feel like I was born to do? Or
at the time?
At that time, I'm thinking I want to be like an influential writer, communicator, artist person. Not communicator as in ministry communication, but more like through art, through writing, through creative outlets. I want to help inspire people. Okay. So I'm like, I can see how the newspaper job kind of fits into these things that I like. Yeah, I mean, it's not like so far out of my wheelhouse. It's out of my wheelhouse, but not all the way out. But this new job that I'm being approached about was all the way out of my wheelhouse. But I took it anyways because of the money. Yeah. So I take this job and I start doing accounts payable at the county commission office. And even people in my life are like, you're doing what? I remember Laura specifically when I told her, was like, oh, that's just not what I anticipated. And I'm like, me and you both, Laura. I don't know what to tell you. So by this time, I had been working at the Journal Record for over a year when I did finally take the job at the county commission office. And by this time, I'm also married. So that was a big life update.
Yes, that was a lot to happen in 1 year.
I was married and I was pregnant with Levi.
Yes, you were.
When I took this job at the county commission, which was also one of the reasons why I took it, because it's like free insurance, and it was really just came down to this job offered me good benefits for the fact that I'm about to be a new mother.
Yes.
So anyways, I take this random job that I never applied for, that I never put in a resume for. I mean, I did apply for it because she asked me to, but like I didn't intend to.
You weren't seeking this.
Exactly.
She came to you
twice. Yes. And so I am not qualified for it. I have no experience doing accounts payable, but I take this job. And I learned from her, and I do fine. It all works out. And I enjoy working there because it is not a hard job. You know, it's a government job, so there's lots of holidays. It's like, you know, just the most adulty job ever. Okay. Yeah. It's like paid sick time, you know. Like,
I think probably the worst thing about your job though is that parking lot. You have to get
the worst. That parking lot is the worst.
Every day, and if you know where she works, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
It's easier to get out than in.
Yes,
getting in
only if you're turning right.
Exactly. Exactly.
Has to be the worst parking lot in all of Hamilton.
It is, definitely.
to get in and out of.
That's true.
Yeah.
So anyway, I took this job. So then, okay, fast forward to, so that was in 2017 when I took that job. Wait, no, excuse me. That was in 2018 when I took the job at the county commission. Then I had Levi in June 2018. Took some time off, then came back to work there because out of necessity, just needed to. And then a year later, so this last year in 2019, my boss who hired me, who pursued me to come there, she is offered a really great job in a different county. And so she decides to take that job and recommend me to be county administrator. Which is like the curveball of all curveballs. So
it's like letting me be mayor.
That is basically what it feels like. Like, who let me do this? So in like the span of a couple of years, I go from being fun employed with my BFF delivering lattes and making art for a living.
Yeah.
And then like a few years later, I'm now quote unquote county administrator, and now I administrate government meetings and elected officials and like am doing accounting for a whole county in Alabama, like millions of dollars I'm responsible for, stuff like that.
Yeah, but you're doing it.
I'm doing it.
Like, you're really doing it.
I mean, I've only been doing it for a little while.
I could never be the mayor, but you are actually doing this.
You know what? You could be the mayor because it is just as plausible. So this is like the craziest turn of events in my life so far. Everything up until this point made some sense, but now it's like, whoa, what just happened?
Yeah.
I just got a job doing something I did not apply for. I did not have any work experience for, except for my 2 years experience in that office working under her. So I had no other, I've never even taken one accounting class in my entire life, not even in high school or college or anything, no accounting class. And now I do accounting all the time, all day long. I've never done payroll before. I do payroll. It's just like the most bizarre turn of events. And
that's
so
like Jen Zetrow we're talking about, her teaching job.
Yes.
How she didn't even really have her degree yet and wasn't even looking for a job, and they wanted to hire her to be a music teacher.
Yes.
For 600 students.
Yes. It's a very similar feeling to that.
Interesting.
Yes. And so anyway, since like this just happened in, I started as administrator in November of last year of 2019. So I've only been doing it for like 2 months. So this county commission hired me. Yeah, right. Not too bad anyways. This county commission appoints me as administrator, and they know that I'm like about to have a baby, have no experience and no degree, and they unanimously appoint me to this position.
Just look at God.
So I haven't done my research. Like, I haven't called all 67 Alabama counties, but I'm probably definitely one of the younger, if not the youngest.
I would say so.
Administrator, because it's usually a career long thing. So then you do it for 30, 40 years.
So when you were like at the end of the year, because I know you're probably kind of goal driven and you kind of like planning things out a little bit. When you were thinking of 2020 and starting a new year and a new decade, what did you think you were going to be doing? Just being a mom, the 2 kids and a wife?
I was focused and like content with the fact that my focus is on my family. It's on growing our family, nurturing these kids, and working out of necessity for our family, not really working because I feel like a huge sense of purpose in it. But that's a huge transition that's happened in me this year coming into 2020 is now I see this huge sense of purpose in it that I did not see before.
Explain.
So I really believe that the Lord is teaching me that He is going to place you where He's going to place you, whether you want to be there or not.
Oh, that can preach.
Not that I don't want to be there, and that's not what I mean.
Just not what you were thinking.
It's not at all what I was thinking. And so I led you through my last 10 years. I'm like, yes, ministry, I see. Writing, I see. Social media, marketing, art, entrepreneurship, I see all of that. Okay, family, kids, I see it. It's all making sense.
It all fits.
And this job is like, what? Why are you doing that? And people even ask me all the time, like, what do you do? Because it's like, and I feel this way. I have felt this way too. They feel like it doesn't make sense with my history.
Right.
Which I totally understand.
Yeah.
But there is no reason why me, Kalyn Moore, would have been given this appointment as county administrator to have a leadership responsibility over government funds, people, money, constituents, meetings, all of this stuff. God put me there. I didn't ask to be put there. I didn't apply for it. I didn't go to school for it. I didn't train for it.
Yeah.
He just placed me there. And it reminds me of stories even like in the Bible where people are placed in situations where they did not.
Daniel and Joseph and
exactly. And so, and what's crazy is even before I came to Hamilton, when I was in high school, I had a passion for government, and I even considered going to school for law because I was so passionate about politics.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I had those things in my mind because I loved the idea of being like an advocate for social justice and in the political realm.
I can see that.
And so, but I made a sharp decision to go into ministry school instead of pre-law. And
because maybe you felt like ministry school.
I think it was because at that time when I was 17, I felt so much passion for Jesus. I thought, first of all, I can't even go to a university campus because I'm just going to explode there.
Yeah.
So I was like, I have to go be around some people who are going to cultivate this in me and who are going to grow with me and go in this direction with me. And then I might go in that direction later in life. I kind of just had enough vision to see at that time that I was not going to be focused on school because I was like so wanting to be in the world of ministry and Jesus and passion for Jesus.
Yeah. Which you can have passion for Jesus in all of these other areas, but sometimes with what our ministry school does here, which is amazing, it comes in and equips people. You find that place where for 2 years you can come be around other people like you that are just like exploding on the inside for Jesus.
That's what I wanted to be around.
And grow and mature in the things of God, and then carry this like passion that you've got into these other areas that you're also passionate about.
And
politics, business, the marketplace, nursing, being a teacher, all of these things. So I think that some people get into ministry or they're exploding for Jesus and they think that all they can do is ministry and within the church, like public platform ministry, church planning, evangelist, instead of realizing I can be passionate for Jesus and be a lawyer.
Yes, totally. Totally.
Yeah.
I just at 17 was like, I don't know what it is I want to do career-wise, but I know that I have passion for Jesus and I just need to go be around some other people who have some passion for Jesus.
Well, you got to for a long time and you're still here.
And I get to be planted here around that all the time, and it just like gives me life. Even though I'm not nearly as connected to like the core of what's going on in the ministry here, I'm still so connected.
Yes.
And like for life, like I feel like my feet are in the cement of the foundation.
I think you are actually a perfect picture of what God wants to do in the earth, to come in, to bring people into places, to equip them to be sent out.
Yeah.
I think that's just a kingdom thing where you were sent out. You geographically stayed in the same city.
I was sent out to the county commission office, which is a half a mile away from the ramp.
So knowing that God put you in that position, how did that change then how you viewed who you were and what you're called to do?
Yes, it really has helped me tremendously because I don't feel so much like weird guilt, because before I felt kind of guilty, like I'm working, but I don't know that there's a lot of purpose in it. And what is my purpose? And am I putting my purpose to the side
just to make some money?
Yeah, exactly. Like, am I putting my purpose on hold? Because that's not something I want to do. And it's like, now that I see how God led me to this opportunity, I'm like, okay, I wasn't putting anything on hold. This was a process and now God is able to use me in a way that I wasn't able to be used before.
Right.
In a way that artists 2015 Kalyn could have never been used. It's just a crazy series of events. So anyways, I see a lot of purpose in where I've been placed now, and I also see how the journey all had purpose. The journal record job had purpose, and doing accounts payable at my office had purpose, because now I'm way more equipped to do what I'm doing because I have an understanding of how that office works and all of those things. So it's just crazy. And then now I can look back 10 years and say, I have had this passion for government, and now I get to be involved in government. And even though my government that I'm closely involved with is a small local government. It is a part of a bigger picture, and now I'm being introduced to state representatives and senators and
Kalyn
congressmen.
for president.
No, I just mean now, like, the people I'm being connected to are no longer just local people. Now I'm a part of this other world that I never ever would have been a part of.
Yeah, and you were talking about, 2013 Kalyn wanting to have influence and be a person of influence, and you're now
a person of influence in a way that I would have never dreamed.
Yeah.
And the people that I'm connected to and working with now are people that I never would have met if I had not said yes to the journal record job or to the accounts payable job and now to the administrator job. So anyways, I don't even know where it's headed. Like, I don't know what 2030 looks like when looking back on these 10 years that we're entering into. I really don't know. But now I'm seeing, this whole other realm is opened up to me that I could have never opened for myself.
Yeah.
And so I've just been encouraged that, there are the last several years, even though they've been happy years for me because of family and kids and marriage and all of that. So very fulfilling in that way. They've also been very big question mark years, like, what should I be doing to propel my life forward? Am I being intentional with my gifts? Am I burying my gifts? What are my gifts? Yeah. I've been asking all these questions, and I still do ask those questions, but I'm like kind of letting go in a sense, in a way that I haven't let go before, because I see the sovereignty of God in the story more than I've ever seen it before at this point. Like, I see that he has kind of moved me into a place that I couldn't have prepared myself for very well, because I could have never imagined.
Right.
So I don't know how I could have been intentional 4 years ago to place myself here.
In this position.
I couldn't have. Yeah. Like, only God could have done it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, it's actually so encouraging, because it's like, you know what? If you're surrendered to God and you want what he wants for your life, you don't have to do so much to make it happen. Mm-hmm. You can just live in a place where God is able to move you into position. And that's what's happening with so many friends. Like you said, they're just being moved in ways they didn't expect, didn't see, didn't plan for. And so in a way,
I sure didn't plan on doing a podcast.
Yes. So I guess my encouragement to all the peoples out there is just that God is more in charge and more sovereign than we even like to think sometimes. We think that our role is so important and so much bigger, and what we do or don't do affects our destiny so much. And that is only true to a point. And then there is this truth of God's sovereignty, where he is going to place you places. He is going to do things in you and through you and with you that you couldn't have prepared for, or that he's been preparing you for all along and you couldn't have seen it.
Yeah. And even the timing of it, maybe there's been something that you're being prepared for and it's not time. You couldn't have stepped into this 5 years ago.
No.
Where you were like, there was an appointed time for this to happen. And I think it's so important how you're talking about all of these other jobs you did. They all, like, nothing was wasted in that. No. God was using all of these things uniquely to position you for where you are today.
Yes.
And when you just talked about 2030, my heart kind of stopped for a minute. And I'm like, 2030, like, we're going to look back on this day in 10 years. And like, I haven't even really thought of that, because I've been so much about the present right now, like what is happening now, that I forgot in 10 years, we're going to look back at this and go, remember when 10 years ago we had no idea. She was just the county administrator and we thought that was her life purpose. Like, what are you going to be doing then? And we're going to go, but that was a part of her story even then. Doesn't that free you up just a little bit?
Honestly, so much. Because my whole life I've been like, my prayer has just been like, God, use me, God, use me, God, use me. Please, God, use me. And so I feel like there have been times where I felt like I could never just get to where God could fully use me. And now from this perspective, looking back over the last 10 years, I realize God is able to use everything. God is able to use my effort, and he's able to use when I don't put forth any effort. He's able to use my mistakes, and he's able to use my gifts, and there's no part of the story that he can't use. And there's no part of the story that hasn't led up to this moment.
You know what I just thought about? What if those 4 years and that one friend thing really was keeping you from putting your eyes on anybody else so that you could marry John Moore?
It could have been.
Like, what if that was just kind of keeping you busy?
Yeah.
And so, like, that wasn't even wasted.
Yeah. No, it definitely wasn't wasted.
Yeah.
It definitely
how
wasn't.
the Lord used all of those things. How are you balancing work? Because you have a very big job. Mm-hmm. It's not like you can just kind of
tap out.
Yeah,
Right.
no, you have to be all in. How are you balancing work and motherhood? You have a toddler at home and a baby on the way. What are
Yes.
your thoughts on that? How are you thinking that in your brain?
Well, there are lots of thoughts. One, I think that every working mother has some level of guilt. I have some mommy guilt that I feel that I put on myself, not that other people put on me necessarily, but some level of guilt of like, am I doing the right thing? Could I be doing something better for my family? So what I have to do is, number one, trust that God is leading me, and that if it's not the right thing for my family anymore, that he will lead me right out of it, because he has that best
he put
interest.
you there in that position.
Exactly. So I trust that, and I believe that he put me in that position. And so believing that I am where I'm supposed to be helps me to not feel guilty.
Good.
So that's one big factor. But there are days where it's excruciating to leave your toddler and not be at home all day with them.
Yeah.
But you know what? There are days where staying at home with your toddler is excruciating.
Yeah.
So there are days, I know I meant to say stay-at-home moms who have very hard days.
Yeah.
And I have very hard days, and we're not different. It's like we all just love our kids so much and are doing our best. And so I don't necessarily even think that it's harder or easier. It's just, what are you supposed to be doing? Because there is grace for what you're supposed to be doing, and you can kind of settle in your mind. A mother who's having a hard time at home every day, wanting to get out, wanting to be talking with adults, wanting to be, wanting to be doing what I'm doing in some ways. She has to know I'm doing exactly what God has asked me to do, and I'm placing some things on hold, and it's not easy every day, but this is where I'm supposed to be.
Yes.
I have that same conversation with myself.
Yes, you do.
I'm placing things on hold. I'm sacrificing some things that I don't want to sacrifice, but I believe that I'm where God placed me.
Yeah.
And I have to trust that to be able to do it.
Yeah.
So it's just a doing hard things thing.
Yeah.
It's not always easy.
Hashtag adulting.
Yeah. It's not always easy, and it's not always hard. It's not always excruciating, like I said.
No, but it's that thing that stretches you and grows you and expands your capacity to be able to do more, to handle more.
Yes.
It really is a stretching and a growing thing. And I love that your perspective on that is, I'm right where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
So there's a grace for my husband. There's
Yes.
a grace for my children. There's a grace for our home.
Yes.
To be able to do and be everything.
And honestly, that's another thing, is that my husband is extraordinarily supportive and makes home life so easy.
Yeah.
Because his expectations are like exactly never super high of me to like perform and be not that I'm not incredible, but he's not expecting me to run our household completely by myself and to run Marion County by myself. He's like not expecting that.
Yeah.
And that helps me so much that he and I shoulder the load of our home together. And we do it all together. We do parenting together, we entertain together, and we cook and we clean and we do everything. We both do everything. And so he works all day and I work all day, and then we come home, and some days he sits and I cook, and some days I sit and he cooks, and we clean up together, and we put our baby to bed together, and we just shoulder that load together. And that is a huge, huge, huge help to me.
Yeah.
So that's one factor for sure. But the big one is just knowing that you are where you're supposed to be, because I'm trying to keep the perspective of, even if I were at home, if that were the dream, if that is the dream, some days it feels like the dream, at home with my little kids, there would be really beautiful days of that and really difficult days of that.
Sure.
And that's the same thing I experience as a working mother. There are really difficult days and there are really beautiful days. And we're just all out here doing our best.
When I was a single mom, so I had the 3 kids. I was a single mom for 10 years before Dave and I married. And I had to work. Like, I didn't have a choice. And like, there was no plan B. This was it. This was it. I had to work. My kids would want to be homeschooled like all their other friends. And I'm like, guys, I just can't.
Yeah.
You're going to have to go to school. And that was our plan A. And that was what I knew we were supposed to be doing, and that was what we could do. And so for you to be a full-time working mom is your plan A, because that's exactly where God has positioned you to be. And for you to be at home would be a plan B, because that's not where he's put you for this season of your life. And so same for other moms who are at home, that's their plan A. For this season. Now, can God change? Yes. Does that mean the plan changes? No. That this is your season now. This is your assignment.
It may not be forever.
And it may not be forever. And you don't know how long. You could end up home with your 2 kids next year and you don't even know it.
And I'd have a great time doing that.
And that doesn't mean, and I think if we could let people off the hook, like if you don't do that thing or that you're dreaming about, or just be where God wants you to be.
Yes.
That's your plan A.
Yes.
And just be all in wherever he has you, even if it looks different than you thought it would be.
Yes,
So,
totally.
I think of people that have so much vision. Like you're a visionary, and I explode with vision. Like I have ideas constantly.
Yeah,
like
same.
I'm writing them down. I have a piece of notepaper right over here right now.
Yes.
I was writing ideas before you even got here of just some things of just that are not even about this. But I'm always thinking, and I have to remember, the vision is yet for an appointed time.
Yes.
Though it tarry, wait for it, for it will surely come.
Timing is everything.
Timing is everything with the Lord. How do we know? How do you feel like we would know? Could we ever miss it?
That is such a great question, because I have lived years of my life in fear that I was going to miss it, in quotations, whatever it is. And even in like relationships, like I thought, with like when I was single, I thought, am I going to miss it? Am I going to let something pass me by? Is it really my responsibility to catch it? And I kind of feel like we can delay it with disobedience or things like that, but I don't really feel like we can miss it.
Yeah.
I think that that's what I've learned, and what I'm embracing going into my new decade is I'm not missing it, because if you are missing it, God will just pick you up and place you in some crazy job.
He's big enough that he can do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like we can miss it. I think we could disobey and delay it. And but I don't think we can miss
what he's doing.
If it's in our heart not to miss it. I mean, I think that you can just deny what God is doing and run away from it, and that would be under the category of disobedience, I think. And I think there's a lot of examples of that even in the Bible, where people delayed what was the inevitable for years and years and decades, but did they miss it?
Yeah.
Some of them missed seeing it because of their disobedience. But God still did it.
Oh, I don't want to miss it, and I don't want to delay it either.
Right. No, me either. But I don't think that that's a thing to live in fear from if your heart is in a posture of, God, please don't let me miss it. If your heart is in that posture, I don't think there's an example of someone whose heart was in a healthy posture who missed it. Yeah. I mean, they saw it at least on the level that they were intended to see it.
Yeah. I think so many people right now are, at least people that I know and people that I'm around, are living in so much transition and have so many of those question marks. Like, what is going on? What am I supposed to be doing? I mean, I even sit and go, God, right now, am I right now in 2020, February 3rd, doing everything you want me to be doing? Am I missing something? And I just have to go back to, well, what are you doing? What is God doing today?
Yeah.
Don't worry about everything else ahead of you. Like,
yes.
It's for an appointed time. And
just
the sovereignty
say yes
of God,
to what is right in front of you.
And what's right in front of me is this, getting to have coffee with people.
Yes.
And talk to them. So recap for me, give us some final thoughts. For people who are maybe not understanding where they are in their journey, life is not looking like they thought it would, or they have a goal they're pursuing, what do they need to be doing? How do they get something to fall in their lap?
Yeah.
We just wait?
I feel like one thing that I guess you could do, I can't think, my whole thing is that we put so much pressure on what we need to do. And God is bigger even than our to-do list. But I think one thing that would help is to even just have a place in your heart of prayer saying, God, will you show me the bigger picture here? Will you show me how you're using where I'm at right now, or what not that he's going to show you the full plan, because we know he doesn't usually, but he will give you perspective and grace to keep going one foot in front of the other.
Yes.
And so I just ask the Lord to give me perspective. And a lot of times, this is really funny, but in the mornings when I'm having my quiet moment with my coffee, I usually ask the Lord to help me deal with people. Because God is he's not mad that I prayed that, because I'm just trying to be nice to people.
Yes.
And I feel like just asking him, Lord, I'm frustrated because I don't see the big picture. I don't see how you're using these small things in front of me, but I'm still saying yes to the last thing that I believe you put before me to do.
Yep.
And I believe that God will keep leading you, and it really doesn't always look like what you thought it would look like. Like, you probably didn't think you were going to be doing this podcast a couple years ago. You didn't know what the next 2 years were going to look like. You're saying yes to that. You have no idea where it's going to lead. You have no idea what it may open up, but I would bet money that it'll open up something because God led you to do it.
Yeah.
So I think just saying yes to whatever the last thing you felt led to do, and then also asking the Lord for perspective even on the small things that you're doing every day.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because we are part of a bigger picture. Like what you were saying, sometimes we can get so caught up and focused on who we are and what is our purpose and what do I need to be doing, instead of realizing that we are just a small piece of something much bigger.
Yes.
So it makes me think of, here we're small town, Hamilton, Alabama, but how can I make a difference in my city and my county? What, based on all the meetings you've been in, where do somebody like me need to get involved?
I have 3 thoughts on how you or anyone who is kind of disconnected from their local government or their community can get more involved.
Okay.
One is giving 2 craps about what's going on. So by that I mean read the newspaper, follow what's going on, know your mayor's name, things like that. Because so many people who come into a community from a different community, they see themselves as a non-permanent part of that community.
Yes, that's true. And
so
just living here,
they just kind of don't care about the things that are going on.
So true.
But if you'll invest a little bit emotionally or even just mentally in the things that are happening in your local city council, your county commission, your just all of your elected officials, the thing there that we elected them to make decisions that do affect us.
Yeah.
Even us who believe we're semi-permanent
we're
members
just here
of a community.
For a year or 2.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I would say care about what's going on, and honestly, the best way to find out is to read the newspaper.
Okay.
And it's a small town newspaper, and there are silly things in it. There are really silly things in it, and sometimes, because I used to work there and my friends still do work there, I will take a picture of the silly things and be like, "Are you kidding me? This is in the paper this week." One story that I had to write when I was there was about a mule named Blue. Blue the mule. He actually lived near where you live.
Jerry Brown?
Yes, Jerry Brown's mule. He
Yes.
died while I was working at the Journal Record, and I had to write a cover story about a mule named Blue.
Maya Cole's class took a field trip and met Blue the mule, and she said they drank chocolate milk from the mule, but they didn't. But they were told to tell their parents that the mule gave them chocolate milk to drink. So we've heard of Blue the mule.
So he was a legend, and he got a story written about him by me on the cover of the Journal
Kalyn,
Record.
nothing is wasted.
But God used it. Here
God used that story.
Yeah, so caring about what's going on. And that would be one way. Registering to vote I'm a big advocate of asking people to register to vote. Even if you're semi-permanent in this area, if you're only going to live here 2 years, if you're just going to do RSM here and then go on back, you still can vote. Even this year is a presidential election. So it would be really a great time for you to register to vote in Alabama. Make sure that when that presidential election rolls around, you have a place to go vote here in Hamilton, because you're not going to be back home.
And I think that these are all things that anybody in any community can gravitate towards, because sometimes I feel like in church cultures, we keep everything else so separate.
Right.
Like, this is my church life, and we kind of stay in this little bubble where we don't get involved in our communities in healthy ways and make a difference in that. Like, you're making a difference in our county commissioner office. Like, you are making a difference there. And by just being a kind person who operates with integrity.
Yeah, just being an honest person, who's reliable, loves the Lord, loyal, who's going to be kind. That makes a difference.
Huge difference.
Being that kind of person in any workplace, in a community, makes a big difference.
And I think that probably has a lot to do with how you are positioned where you are now, because you were just operating,
just being myself,
being yourself, which is sometimes an extraordinary thing these days in the world. Another thing we were talking about shopping local. Find your small businesses. So one of the things I love to do, we have a lot of people that do a lot of businesses or have creative things that they do. They don't have storefronts, but support people that live in your community, whether they bake cakes or they paint journals or they do travel bookings for you. You know, we have a lot of people that do that.
Financially support people who are bringing what you want in your community. So like, if I want more art in my community, if I want more artistic expression, I should totally be supporting all the people who are trying to bring that into the community.
Yes.
Because it's difficult. I mean, you know, when it's not going on, you kind of feel like you're shouldering it all by yourself as an entrepreneur out there making stuff and trying to make some money. So yeah, definitely shop local and support people who are bringing what you want to see more of in your community.
Yeah. I'm ready to see like a Chip and Joanna come. Like, there's somebody in Hamilton that's the Chip and Joanna.
Oh my goodness. Yes.
And they're going to come in. They just need to be awakened now.
Is it you, Melissa?
Let it be, Lord. Let it be.
Have you guys seen her house? It's gorgeous.
That would be like a dream.
Yes.
To be able to go in and
like consult with people.
Oh, I would do it all day long, but I don't know how to make money doing it.
There are people out there with money in houses, Melissa. We just got to hook you up.
All right, hook a sister up. But like,
Lord, help me connect Melissa to the people in the city with money who need a refresh on their house.
I would do it because to come in and change the culture and the environment of a city, and to see it grow and thrive and like bless our city, to see our city prosper and the people in our city fully alive in their gifts and what they're created to do, and have this amazing, our downtown, you know, being revitalized and all the work that's been going on down there. And
I mean, it really looks totally different than 10 years ago.
Completely different. I think on Google Maps or something, there's a street view of the old downtown.
And it's horrible.
And it's awful.
Especially all the cords. I just remember there being like tons and tons of like power lines and crazy
everywhere,
lines
and the broken down roads.
And
so even just what they've done to beautify downtown and things like that, things like that, when I see that and like people caring about our city and our community, I'm like, yes, I can.
And you know who does that kind of stuff?
Who?
Your local government leaders. They're out here applying for grants.
I need to
and paving streets.
Yes.
No, I'm being silly, but you know, if beautification is something you care about, then local government should be something you care about, because those are the people responsible for spending public taxpayer dollars, which you do contribute to, on those things. Yeah. And for lining Hamilton up to be in line for grants and for programs and for things, like those are the people doing that stuff. So that what you just mentioned is a great example of why people should care about what's going on in their local government.
What else do you want to talk about? Anything else? Any other thoughts you've got?
I don't think I have any further thoughts today.
today?
No, not today.
Except waiting on baby to come.
Yes.
We're not telling a name yet.
Not yet.
Until she's...
It starts with an E.
Oh,
Give you a hint.
I could guess all kinds of names, but I
have
won't.
had a really hard time naming this baby.
Really?
I think for some reason the pressure of naming a girl is way higher to me than the pressure of naming a boy.
Because boys get nicknames like Bubba and Buddy.
And like boys are like, I don't know, all boy names sound like boy names. But girl names, there are like really soft and feminine names. There are stronger names. There are long names and short names. And like, it's so much pressure. Like, I have to identify this child.
Yeah. Yeah, no. Molly, when she was, I was maybe like the week before she was born, we knew it was a girl. Her name was Molly. And then like a week before she was born, I was like, I don't think I want to name her Molly anymore. But it was too late because like we had monogram gifts and everybody had been calling her Molly. And so
that's actually one reason I'm not revealing the name, because I like need to reserve a 10% might change my mind.
Yeah.
Ratio.
Maya Cole, when I was pregnant with her, I did not know if she was a boy or a girl. Mm-hmm. So that was the surprise.
That's fun.
But I had the name Mickey picked out because I thought Mickey for a boy or Mickey for a girl. It could go either way. Mm-hmm. And so I was just all set, Mickey. And so it's a girl. And I was like, okay, Mickey. And everyone's like, no, you can't call her Mickey. And so it took me like 3 days to come up with a name for her. So
I love the name Maya.
Yeah. So now she's Maya.
I think that's pretty.
So instead of Mickey, but she was a surprise. Maybe I hate to say this out loud. What if it's not a girl?
That would be a big surprise, you guys. Not gonna lie, I'd be a little disappointed, but I'm actually more sure of my next boy name than I am of this girl name, so the name would be no problem. I would know exactly what his name is.
No, we need a girl.
So John was talking the other day. I was saying like, man, I don't want to be pregnant again for like a while, and he was like, maybe ever, like maybe this is it. And I was like, but I have that name picked out. I have to have that third baby so I can name that child that thing.
3 was a good number for me. Yeah. We have 3 is good. It just worked for me. And
I could see it. We'll see. We're open.
Who knows?
Who knows?
I love it. Hey, thanks for taking the time to do this before baby E shows up.
Thank you for having me.
It's been a lot of fun.
It was really fun.
Oh, my friend Kalyn. Who knew 10 years ago that this young artist would become the administrator of our county here in Alabama? I know we're all still getting used to this 2020 thing, but it really does make me wonder how different all of our lives will be in the year 2030. What could happen in 10 years? Who knows? I'm excited to find out. We've got a new Facebook page for the podcast you can go like. It's called, you guessed it, What's Next God Podcast. You can also subscribe to the podcast on whatever platform app you use. You'll be the first to know when a conversation gets started. iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Anchor. Yep, we're on all of them. If you've got an extra minute today, leave us a review as well. If you want to get connected on social media, find me on Instagram or Facebook under the name Melissa Matheson. That's math, like 4 + 1 = 5, I before E, son, S-O-N. As in my 17-year-old son who turns 18 in a few days, and I still haven't gotten him a gift. I bet a gift he would probably love is if I'd stop using his stories in my podcast closings, but yeah, I'm not sure about that. You'll have to let me know what you think. Our Camels Are Coming episodes will be back on Wednesday. We'll be talking with some of my favorite married people about how they met, dated, and married. I'm saving you a seat, so come join us as we sit around the table, have a cup of coffee, and talk about what's next, God.